in to our studio because we are back. Yes, welcome into an episode of Trust the Process Live. I can finally say live, and it feels so good, man. As always, I'm your host, James Hyden, and I have the pleasure, finally the pleasure, of being here with my guys, Mr. 5 Digits Max Coolish, and the young gentleman, YG, James Jackson, himself. Fellas, we're back.
Woo, man.
Applause all around, gentlemen. I know. We did it.
4 months, right?
4 months.
It's really seeing you on 3D. It's really seeing you on in the third dimension. I'm used to seeing you guys in 2D for the past 4 months.
And not even good 2D, Zoom. I'm looking at you.
Wow.
Yeah.
It came right out of me, you know what I mean? It's just...
It happened, huh?
I mean, I'll just take responsibility for being 2 floors above my router. That's my bad. It sucked. But that's the best I could do.
Y'all were loving seeing pixelated Max going out.
It was stop.
Yep.
It was great.
Go. That was good. But, gentlemen, before we get right into it, as we always do, we have to give you a little bit of a COVID update because Pat Connaughton and Eric Bledsoe were the 2 newest positive C19. And it's C19 now, guys. We got a new abbreviation. It was Corona, now it was COVID-19. Now we got C19.
We're gonna do one of those like time-lapse things that you see on Twitter when it's like a brand, how their logo changes from 1920 to 2020. And for Corona, it's just going to be how it changed from March to July. That's
my God. It's only been 3 months. Whatever. I'm not going to jump down that rabbit hole. So, Bledsoe and Connaughton, the 2 newest C19 tests, and they have not traveled with the team, with the Milwaukee Bucks, to the bubble in Orlando. We'll see how that comes out. But the overall positive news is that nobody in the bubble tested positive. Not one positive test from players who came to the bubble when it started.
I'm very surprised.
I'll put my hand to it.
Yep, hand to God, I am very surprised.
Hundreds of tests, too.
Yeah. 300, there's like 350-ish.
Exactly.
Touch under 350.
Max, you said something about the NHL not having, it was 2 tests?
It was like 840 some for the NHL and two positive tests.
The bubbles are going strong. So the bubbles are working so far.
It's off to a good start. Whether or not those involved in the bubble long term will mess that up is yet to be seen. But yeah, off to a good start. Also, COVID update. Montrezl Harrell left the bubble because of an issue with his grandmom. So
Zion Williamson also.
Zion too, yes. So yeah, we got bubble leavers. I think that's going to be the big thing to look out for.
I mean, you have to be immediately, that per rules, they get quarantined immediately for 10 days?
10 days
at least, yeah.
Like you're at the point where basically if you're not watching this live with us right now and you're watching this back and a player that you like or are interested in following has left the bubble, chances are they're missing their first game at this point.
At least the first scrimmage.
Yeah.
Which is wild. But hey, we're going to get right into it. This is our main event, and I'm so happy to be able to be saying it, but unfortunately, we have to talk about something that I vowed we would never talk about again on this show.
I don't know why you did that.
Ben Simmons.
Don't run from it. It always finds you.
Don't say that. Ben Simmons and his 3-point shot are back in the news.
Yes,
and
sir.
Fellas, I will preface this. If you reference Brett Brown,
Ben Simmons is spinning and step back 3-point shooting.
The question to you guys is, will Ben Simmons shoot a 3-pointer in the bubble?
He better.
Now, what you said is you hope that we don't reference Brett Brown's video. The first thing I'm going to do is reference Brett Brown's video because that's
not fair. That's like saying, hey, you have to build your case, but don't use this primary piece of
evidence. That's why it's here. That's why my case is here. That's the biggest piece of evidence is...
It's a weak case.
Is Brett... It's the Sixers coach. Your coach posted videos of Ben Simmons shooting 3-pointers. Shooting 3-pointers from in the corner with no resistance, no defense on him, no game-like situation. And of course, as you and many Sixers fans are doing across this city, bit it.
Absolutely.
Bit a chunk out of that apple. Bit the hell out of that apple. I mean, my only question is why now? To answer the question, no, I don't think we see a Ben Simmons 3-pointer in a bubble because it's not like Maxey had an entire normal offseason to work with a shooting coach, which he's had plenty of years, by the way, which he has had multiple times.
Not a normal offseason, but 4 months is an offseason.
Multiple times. Where he can't work with a shooting coach, anybody at the facilities, anyone in the Sixers organization, he can just shoot by himself.
I'm positive every NBA player had their own people there. Sixers staff, probably not because of the rules, and they don't want to risk it.
Whatever. But my point is, Ben Simmons has had an offseason under normal circumstances. We can go see whoever he wants.
I won't disagree with that.
Whenever and wherever he wants. And we still don't see three-pointers. But now in this abbreviated runway, he's only got, 2 weeks to practice and prepare with his team to get back to normal game situations. If we didn't see it then, why the hell would we see it now? We didn't see it in the 60 games of the regular season. Now we have 8 games of a tune-up, which the Sixers need most of those 8 games to try to get a better matchup in the playoffs so they're not playing somebody like the Heat or like the Celtics in the first round as they sit in the 6th seed right now. But they need those 8 games to try to move up in the standings. So why would Ben Simmons mess around with any of these games, any of these possessions? If we didn't see it under normal circumstances, why would we see it now, Max? It doesn't make any sense.
I'll say this. I say we see it now because at this point, the news is out that the starting lineup has been shaken up, no pun intended, and he's moving to power forward, right? I cannot for the life of me imagine that during that conversation, Brett Brown didn't at least say, hey, look, you're going to be in potentially more comfortable situations to shoot. You're not going to be the first guy with the ball all the time. There are going to be times where we're just going to maybe leave you away, try to run some action to the other side, and if things fall apart, you might find yourself open in the corner. I can't.
Nobody's going to take it. Right? Nobody's going to take it. For a normal three-point shooter, yes, you probably take the shot, but Ben Simmons is not a three-point shooter.
I guess it doesn't. I guess it doesn't, but I just can't imagine that at some point against those games against the Wizards or the Suns or whoever the hell they're playing, because they have, we went over this a couple weeks ago. They don't have a hard schedule.
They don't.
You have to expect that they're going to have at least some opportunity to be beating up on one of these playoff teams or one of the teams that maybe shouldn't even have been invited to the main bubble, right? At some point in one of those, you have to imagine that maybe they're up 17. He knows he's got 40 seconds left in the game when there's 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and he just jacks one. Yes, maybe this is the naive.
But isn't that the scenario we hoped for?
I know.
That we hoped for in October, and it happened twice. It happened twice in the entire season.
I mean, hey, that's what I'm working off of here. So I'm hoping he finds himself in that exact situation.
Twice in 60 games.
I just can't imagine that with such a drastic change to the team and the structure and how things are going to go. I don't know.
But Max, that change in the starting lineup was to move Ben Simmons to the 4 and bring in Shake Milton, who is a shooter.
Yeah.
So that change in the lineup brought in more shooters. That took the pressure off of Ben Simmons, at least in the starting lineup.
Exactly.
For most of the rotation to shoot.
And I feel like the pressure on the whole circus around his shot, the media and him and the development around it, that pressure gets you. I feel like maybe not having all this pressure to be the guy that is counted on every single time to be the kickstarter on offense, maybe that helps him out. And as we've seen with plenty of great teams throughout history, passing leads to more passing. If you catch the ball in the key and you're whipping around, your natural rotate position is out to one of the wings. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but ball makes a full round, and that's more likely for Simmons to find himself behind the three-point line than in the same place where he started.
And he will probably take those 3 power dribbles and try to go for a layup.
He probably will.
That hurts.
And here's one last reason before we move on. One last reason why I also think he might not do it, because we've always had the argument of exposing himself, right?
Yeah.
If he goes and takes this shot and multiple of them and bricks them badly, misses them, and it's clear that he's not really a threat out there, now we've regressed back. Now defenses start playing the old Ben Simmons again. I don't care where he is on the floor. If he's outside of 15 feet, he doesn't get respected.
Okay.
And now we mess up the spacing again. Now the interior is clogged once more, and we've gone all the way back to the similar problem. And I think the more changes that come in the Sixers offense are probably trying to take that ability or that thought out of Ben Simmons that you have to make this happen from the three-point line. You don't need to make this happen anymore. So don't put our offense in a bind once they realize you really can't shoot and start defending you inside the three-point line again. I just don't think we see one. Not in this scenario.
Okay.
Let's wait till next season when he's got a full 82 and on a random Wednesday night in Atlanta, put one up and see what happens.
I mean, if he's not regularly taking them by next real season, then we're gonna have this.
Give up the hope.
We're gonna have this whole conversation again, and I'm gonna be much less enthusiastic.
You say that, but next season you'll see the same.
You said the same exact thing
every year
last year.
It's every year.
Is it different? Really,
you and everybody else who lives in the 215.
I think it's a little bit different. You're getting basically 2 off seasons in one this year.
I don't know.
Not basically.
But I don't know if that helps. I don't know if another off season helps. What is an off season done? Whatever. I want it to work. I do. I think I will disagree. I think we see multiple Ben Simmons three-pointers. Are they makes? I don't know. I think he chucks them up because I think he really is in a mode where he doesn't care. He wants to go down there. He's coming for Orlando. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Let me talk to y'all Philadelphia sports fans.
Take 30, please.
My 30. I'm going to take 30 and talk to all, because y'all need to be talked to too, because there's many viewers out there right now hoping and wishing for the same thing that Max and James are. And let me explain the difference between hoping and expecting. You can hope all you want. Okay. You can be encouraged by these videos you see at Ben Simmons. I hope we see a Ben Simmons 3. I'm optimistic we see a Ben Simmons 3. I'm encouraged to see a Ben Simmons 3. I don't think you should expect it. There's a fine line between hope and expectations here, and y'all are dancing all the way over here, forgetting what reality is.
This guy's a blast.
Forgetting what reality is. The reality that we've sat in for 3 years watching this point guard operate. And y'all hope to see something else and are just changing it reality.
I did see something else. I haven't seen
I'm trying to pull y'all back down. I'm trying to pull y'all back down, but you know what I mean? Y'all need to help me out here.
So you gave me a good segue right there. You said point guard. He is now being, we talked about this a little bit last week, he is being quote unquote moved to the 4. He has long been called a point forward. We shall now see what that means. But
also, by the way, who called that a long time ago?
I mean,
who called that? Please give me Max. Please give me my box.
It was always in the cards whether they actually chose to use him on the block like a forward.
I just think they watched the show and heard me speak great.
In a question. But that, we won't dive into the nuances of it. We did last week a little bit. If you want to, go check that out on My New Phillies Facebook page. But that brings us to another transition that's happening right now in the city of Philadelphia. Brandon Brooks goes down. Jason Peter gets brought back. It's happened before in football. You go take a look back at the Baltimore Ravens that won the Super Bowl. Kalichi Osemele moves inside. Big athletic tackle. Can Jason Peters at his age, can he move to guard? Like, are we comfortable with this? Because the win percentage with Brandon Brooks and without Brandon Brooks is the disparity is way too wide.
Let's not kid ourselves here. Jason Peters is not going to play at or probably near the level Brandon Brooks has shown, right? Dude's an all-pro. I don't think that's fair to expect that of Jason Peters, regardless of how storied and how accomplished he is in his career. I will say this. As a Philadelphia fan, things could not have worked out better for us. They really couldn't have. Because let's face it, we're after the draft. We're after the big rush of free agency. There's no one really out there. The guys who are still out there are the guys who are going to be out there this whole time, probably, right? We were not going to find a better option at guard. We weren't going to find a guy who's this talented, regardless of his age. We were definitely not going to find a guy who is this in tune with the rest of his offensive line. We talked about that, in any team. That's the number one thing for offensive line. Every offensive lineman is huge and jacked and is strong and is deceptively fast, but the differences that separate the good lines, the bad lines, and the great lines is how well they work as a unit. And the fact that you're taking a guy and instead of replacing your all-pro with someone off the streets who's never met any of the guys he's going to be lining up next to for 16 games, you replace him with the guy who has been essentially the captain of that offensive line for the last however many years, 7, 8 years since he arrived in Philadelphia. And then on top of that, your only new starter is going to be basically right next to the guy that was just mentoring him for a year. So I think that given the circumstances, there's no good way to swallow losing your all-pro whatever, right? It doesn't even matter that it's the most important position for your particular team. There's no way that you can really ever fully expect to fill that gap. But I think given the circumstances, I think that if you try to sit here as an Eagles fan and say we should have went and done this and this would have been better, I think you're just blowing steam at me because I really legitimately do not believe that this could have worked out any better. Because, let's be honest, Peters probably could have, I don't want to say swindled someone, but there's got to be a lower to mid-tier team that is willing to take a flyer on him, let him maybe compete for the starting left tackle job or mentor one of their younger starting left tackles, right, split time with him. Peters probably could have went and done that. Clearly money is not the motivating factor for him at this point, right? It's clearly not. He wants to win, and I think particularly he wants some room with that group of guys. I think that shows he took basically a dirt cheap deal, and if he plays at the level of an all-pro guard, he'll get paid like one in a one-year vacuum for a guy who's 38. I just don't think it could have worked out better. I'm very pumped about this because I was very confused how they were going to address this. I didn't really see this as a possibility at first, and the fact that they made it happen, I think that's a testament to both sides. I think it's a testament to how hard he wants to win with this particular team. I think that the Eagles that are going to see that, they're going to respond well to that. But I think a lot of credit goes to the office and the management and saying, hey, we just lost BB. Like, do you think you can do this? Like, if you don't think you can do this, I'm sure they were totally fine with him saying no because they already let him walk. They already let him go test what was out there. I think that I think we should all be very. I don't say excited because it's not exciting to have your all-pro right guard tear his ACL. I think we should be happy with the result.
I think you make good points. I think you guys, Eagles fans should be kind of a little bit relieved that Jason Peters came back.
That's a great word.
You know what I mean? A little bit relieved that there's no gaping hole in your offensive line now. That Jason Peters, does, no pun intended, just plug up that hole, does protect that hole in the offensive line if he stays healthy. You're right. He's been the captain of that offense, that offensive unit, especially that offensive line for the recent memory of this Eagles regime. He's also been one of the best at that position, for his tenure in the Eagles. But when he's been healthy, Max, and the reason that they had to move him to that position was because of injury. And I think the worrisome part is if and when, I think we can say if and when Jason Peters goes down, he's done it for the past 3 years, if and when he goes down, how does that offensive line reshuffle after him? Because you move him out of his tackle position, now you're probably going to put Andre Dillard at that tackle position.
Yeah, they're committed to depth.
And then you get very thin after that.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at the 2 position changes in Philadelphia, and I'm saying Ben Simmons the power forward and Jason Peters the guard. I'm more inclined and more optimistic with the Ben Simmons the power forward because it wasn't out of injury. And I'm not moving a guy who is injury prone into another position to fill an injury need, if that makes sense, if you're following my logic. Ben Simmons is moving there to open up the offense. That creates more opportunity for people. Jason Peters moving to the guard position while he doesn't have to focus on trying to block the best pass rusher on the other team now and move him inside. That might maximize his ability a little bit more, might leave him on the field a little bit longer too.
That's what I was just going to say.
Only have to dealing with inside runs instead of outside people. But I mean, Aaron Donald's live on the inside. Like big people live on the inside too. And Dominican Sue lives on the inside. He's gonna have to be dealing with some people like that. But I'll agree, not as athletic as some DNs and some pass rushers. But if you're looking at those 2 position changes, I think you're looking at the Ben Simmons one as a much prettier picture for having to shuffle this whole thing around, because we can see what the injury bug can do to the Eagles. If it hits Brandon Brooks and then it hits Jason Peters, now the Eagles are struggling on the offensive line.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it's easy to use those names because they're 2 high-profile names. But if you say that for any team, like go any team, any position, if you lose your starter and your backup, you're down your 3rd string, you're not in good shape there. So I'm going to say this. I think the best way to summarize it is this. The Ben Simmons moves makes the Sixers ceiling high enough to win a championship should everything fall into place and it goes well. Jason Peters' move to guard makes the Eagles' floor higher where they're not leaking at right guard and they're relying on a guy who's a 67 overall in Madden to protect on the inside runs on the side there we typically give less attention to because Lane Johnson is a monster and typically guys focus, they try to attack your left tackle because that's where your primary pass rushers come from. So I'm going to say they both do 2 different things. I think that, the difference, the Eagles' floor now goes from 3 wins because you already are down to 1 3rd string offensive lineman basically if Peters isn't there, and compared to if the rest of the line starts going down. So I think they do 2 very different things. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, do 2 very different things.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think both of them bring a level of insurance that both teams needed because the Sixers needed the insurance of having a guy who's another good shooter on the floor all the time, and the Eagles needed the insurance of having someone who isn't just going to get mauled over and flattened by Aaron Donald or Ndamukong Suh or Snacks Harrison or whoever we're going up against. If the Eagles are serious about having championship contenders, you can't be leaky on the inside because that's how your quarterback gets hurt. That's how your running game is ineffective, is if you can't run between your guards.
Running game is the biggest one.
Exactly. So I think both of them are much needed moves, and I think both of them will pay dividends, honestly. And I'm really trying to stay objective about that. I really am, but I really do think both of them are unquestionably net positives.
So Max, I love you, man. You guys. I love being back because you guys have given me great, easy segues.
Really? And it's also nice that we don't have to wait for each other to talk.
Right?
Yeah,
oh my God.
There's no delay on Zoom. And if we talked over each other, one of us don't go quiet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! And then every week it'd be I'd ask you how you were doing, and then there's that awkward 3-second pause.
Who's going first?
It's just I'm doing okay, but I don't want to say it. But Max, you tossed me an easy one with bringing up Madden, and I'm going to stick with the Eagles. You brought up Jason Peters' Madden rating. Probably not going to be that high. But there are other Eagles who should probably feel disrespected. We touched on it a little bit last week with the quarterback who shall not be named, who quarterbacks the former America's team, is somehow...
I'll keep it family friendly and not make that comment.
That team hasn't been America's team since
longer the 90s.
Since longer than I've been alive. But who did Madden mess up the worst? Which Eagle did Madden get completely wrong.
I'd like to volunteer to go first here. First off, I just want to say I'm so happy that this is the last week we're really going to be relying on Madden ratings for content and talking points. Yeah. That's first and foremost. I'm very excited about that.
You can tell how dry it's been.
Exactly.
You can tell how dry it's been.
Secondly, I can't decide. So we talked about Wentz last week, and so I won't go down that road. I can't decide if I'm more mad that they put Zach Ertz as the 4th best tight end behind a guy who is coming off crippling knee injuries. Look, I'm not taking anything away from him. He is the greatest tight end to play the game. But if we're doing this whole Madden,
he shouldn't have a 95.
He shouldn't have a 95. And there's no way he should be rated as the 3rd best tight end coming off of a whole year off.
There's no chance.
They do the live updates week by week, start him at a 90, and if he's back to Gronk of old, he'll be a 99 by like week 4 or 5, okay? So I don't think they need to do that. Honestly, this is a little bit of homer in me coming out. Personally, I think it's Kelsey, Ertz, Kittle, and I know I'm going to get absolutely killed for that by a lot of.
Wild.
I know I'm going to get killed for that by a lot of people. I do.
That was.
But Max, that's not even one. That's not even answering the question. 2, in your heart of hearts, you have to know. You have to know that Kittle goes ahead of Zach Ertz. You just have to know that. And that's not a slight to Zach Ertz at all.
You have to know.
You just have to know that.
Honestly, I will say that they are as close as they can be, and just that Ertz has been a more premier player for longer. Kittle has exploded over the last 2 years. Ertz has been steadily building him. He's become a superstar. When Ertz became a superstar was Kittle's breakout year, and Ertz has been a superstar since then. That's the only reason That's the only reason I say it. He's been producing at a superstar level.
Because we can go off on a whole separate.
I know we can, and that's why
that is a rabbit hole.
I'm just going to let you know that this is growth right here, because I could really get you out of here. For
I'm
all
not going to. I
say.
will not disagree with you. I know I'm in the minority in that one. I know I'm in the minority.
My goodness.
I know I'm in the minority for that one.
Is that what they call just being wrong now?
Yeah, right. I guess.
Regardless, getting back to my original point. In my mind, Zach Ertz should be at least tied with Kittle for the number 2 rating, and 90 should not depict that. It should be Kelsey at 97, and then I think Ertz and Kittle should be tied at 95.
It should be Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz.
I disagree. I think Travis Kelce is hands down
whatever
is the best
order
tight
you
end
want to put it, it goes Kelsey, Kittle, or Kittle, Kelsey. Those are
Kelsey is unquestionably number 1.
Those are 1 and 2
2 years ago, Kelsey would have been number 1. Kittle literally destroyed.
That's
everyone.
That's fine. But if you have Kittle 1, you have to have Kelsey 2, and vice versa.
Yes,
that's the only way it goes.
You
can debate 3 and down from there, but it's 1 and 2, Kelsey and Kittle. Kelsey and Kittle.
Kelso,
yeah. Here's what I will say is. There are only a couple, maybe 3 or 4 cornerbacks in the entire NFL that I would have trusted to shadow the offense's best receiver for the full game. Darius Slay was one of those cornerbacks.
It's a lost art.
2 years ago, led the league in interceptions. Last year was the highest rated cornerback, in terms of PFF rating, Pro Football Focus ratings. So over the last 2 years, there's been seldom cornerbacks that are better than Darius Slay. In Madden, he has an 88 overall rating, which doesn't look terrible.
That's not bad.
Doesn't look terribly bad. Relatively speaking, stacked up, it's the 9th best rating of cornerbacks in the NFL.
That is a little bit more in question,
I think it's a little bit of disrespect. When you're talking about cornerbacks like Tre'Davious White, no slight against them, I'm not putting him above Darius Slay.
Trey White
See, I won't either, and that's going back to the Kittle thing. Darius Slay has been a superstar corner for years.
I'm not taking Trey White over
I don't know. Trey's been
over Darius Slay.
lately.
I'm not taking Marlon Humphrey over Darius Slay.
I'm not taking Humphrey.
I'm not taking some of these. I'm not taking. And if we're talking about just overall cornerbacks, I mean, we have Richard Sherman at a 92, the 3rd highest cornerback rated. Richard Sherman is a Hall of Fame cornerback. No doubt about it. Richard Sherman is also about like 34, 35 years old.
He regained some of his form last year, but he still wasn't like...
He regained some of his form because he stays on one side of the field, not even just on one side, in one position. He is the outside corner on the left side every single snap. Darius Slay not only doesn't take snaps off, but will go all over the field. Yeah. If Julio Jones is there, that's the only person he's guarding all game. You know, if Mike Evans is there, that's the only person he's guarding. DeAndre Hopkins, whoever it is, whoever the best team receivers, whoever the team's best receiver is, that's where you see Darius Slay. To give him an 88 and to make him the 9th highest cornerback rating, I think is a little bit
I think the Madden rating guy must have looked at like 2016 seasons.
I don't know what happened all over the board in Madden this year. I don't know what happened.
I really
don't know what happened.
I'm going to stay a little bit woke on this one. I honestly think that Madden just totally did this for the clicks and the talk.
I think they did
because
too.
they knew that they could get more of a buzz this year compared to most.
Yep, absolutely.
Like I know that we can get into this every year, and I'm sure if we go back through the last 10 years of Madden, we can find some questionable ratings.
But not like this.
And position rankings by rating and stuff.
Kyler Murray's in the 70s. Kyler Murray doesn't even hit 80.
That's
insane.
That's going back to the Wentz thing. Like, Wentz is obviously better than an 84 overall quarterback. Like, Eli Manning was a perpetual 84 overall quarterback from like 2012 to like 2016.
Dude, nobody has embodied a number more than
exactly. That's what I mean.
84 overall.
Like 84 is like you are marginally better than average.
That's like painstakingly average.
Exactly, and it's like, how can you say the 10th best QB in the league is painstakingly average? Like, that's Kyler Murray is like painstakingly average.
Right,
He's exciting, but in terms of stats and what he actually did, he was pretty painstakingly average last year. And I don't know. It seems like quarterbacks in general just, maybe they all got like glitched or something.
I'm kind of with you. After I saw the quarterback ratings, I was like, maybe Madden just,
swat that thing.
The name recognition for Tom Brady. I was like, I see Lamar Jackson at 92. That's the reigning MVP. That's weird.
Yeah. Like every other year, your reigning MVP is like how are you not making Lamar Jackson, like, maybe he's not a 99 because I think we all agree that he's not Mahomes good, like, overall. No.
But ratings overall, for every position, they got stuff wrong. Christian McCaffrey, to me, is undoubtedly the best running back. He's not a 99 overall. And I think you have to be okay with not having a 99 overall running back. That's just
I also don't think Michael Thomas is a 99.
I don't think Michael Thomas is 99 either.
He's not the number one receiver.
He's not. DeAndre Hopkins.
Because he would have cried.
Maybe.
He did not get a 99.
He was statistically the best receiver
I think
last
they just
year.
take team success too much into account because Richard Sherman is Richard Sherman had a huge benefit of he had the best front seven in the league, probably at least one of them, right?
And one of the best linebacking cores too.
Exactly. He has a solid secondary around him. The Niners were ahead every game. They're running the ball. They're controlling the clock. They're putting teams in disadvantageous position. On the other hand, Darius Slay is the total opposite. And he's 4 or 5 less. The Lions notoriously have had no pass rush for like their existence in my lifetime. Like, I literally cannot ever remember a time where the Lions pass rush was like notable or worth remembering. Like
when they had Sue
and Robert Quinn,
and Fairley and Ziggy Ansah.
And
even that was like
even so they like cracked top 10, and that was like their best run of the decade,
even that was
right?
League average.
And like they're, I don't know, it just seems like it was predicated too much on team success, which is weird because even a guy like Carson Wentz dragged his team to the playoffs and still only got an 84. So who the hell knows?
It's kind of wild. So we'll move on. And this is, I love to talk about this, fellas, because baseball is back. And today we get some news. Today we get some news that Aaron Nola, surprise, is being named as the opening day starter for, I think this is his third year.
It's got to be his third. It's got to be his third.
Gabe messed up the first two.
This is his third opening day start as proclaimed by manager Big Joe G earlier today.
Yes, noted South Philly Italian Joe Girardi.
Yes, sir.
That honestly, he sounds more Philly than he is. But my question to you guys is, Nola Nation, what are we expecting from Aaron Nola?
I'll let you go first because I got actually two good numbers here.
It might come as as a shock to some people, especially if you're looking at like the advertisement of the MLB and all the promos you're seeing. You don't see Aaron Nola on there. You don't see him on any of the big debuts. I'm expecting a big season of an Aaron Nola. I'm expecting an ace type season from the Phillies ace, nearing towards, a Cy Young run, like an actual Cy Young run. I think the shortened season is going to help him a little bit.
You would be correct.
I'm very optimistic about the Phillies offense this year and being able to give him run support, which has lacked in past years. We also get a manager who's not going to pull him in the 6th inning just because he's reached, in his mind, a pitch limit or this is the time in the game where the book and the stats say to pull him. He's going to let Aaron Nola ride the hot streak as long as he has it. So I'm expecting that, plus the solidification of a good number 2 pitcher behind him, I think is also going to help really pin down the rotation for him. I'm expecting big things. It's year 4 for Aaron Nola, year 3 of being the ace, and I think he's ready to settle into the role.
So when I was doing my best to actually, for some reason, Baseball Reference doesn't just have a way you can sort by month, so I was doing a little bit of manual research. And it turns out for the last 3 years that Aaron Nola's August ERA, I mean, granted, he's not going to have all the months building up to August to get himself warmed up, but he loves the month of August. Last year, 2.5. The year before was 1.08 in August, and the year before that was like 2.3, right? August, by far and away, is his best career month in terms of ERA. And September, actually, I think was 3rd after I was looking around. I think it's like August, and I think it's May and then September or something like that. But regardless, if we're only playing 2 months of the season, those are the 2 months you want this guy pitching. Yeah. Also, here's another number for you. Did you know that Aaron Nola made the most starts in the MLB last year with 36?
Did not know that.
Because I didn't know that. And guess what? Having an extra 4 months off for a pitcher who, I think is maybe the position that it can just explode and die on you like an old appliance at any time, right? Like Tim Lincecum, countless others. Tim Lincecum is maybe
very
just
good analogy.
Tim Lincecum is maybe just the most famous example from like our generation, but you can go back throughout the history of baseball and just at least once or every other couple of years there's just a guy whose arm just dies on him, right? So the fact that you're playing him that much, but then he has an extra 4 months off, there's nothing but good that's going to come out of that. So. I think we can all agree the Phillies are primed to bounce back. They have a very talented roster. They have an ace starter or an ace number one. They have a guy who's at least high end number two upside. Maybe not true number one ace is your second guy, which you would love to have. But I think they're in a great position. Also, interestingly enough, I remember seeing the last 2 years, I don't remember looking at this for 2017, but in the last 2 years, he's 1-5 or 1-6 in August, despite having that low of an ERA. So going back to the run support thing, the fact that we don't ever support our number one pitchers, and I remember this from the Cole Hamels days, it felt like whenever Cole Hamels used to pitch, I know you'll remember this, it felt like the Phillies would just lose 1 or 2-0 every single game. Every single game. It was ridiculous. And I get it's crazy that it happens to Nola now, too. But I think that Girardi is known for being an aggressive manager. He's a guy that is not afraid to, I don't want to say run up the score because he can't really do that in baseball like you can in other scores, but he's not a guy that it's like, hey, if we're up 8-0, like I'll pull you in the 5th inning just to get you a couple innings rest. Maybe I'll pull you in the 7th or something, but he's an old school guy. He plays his best guys as frequently as he can. Yep. So I think that will only help build cohesion, which is something the Phillies lineup never had last year, changing around. Jeez, there was one time where they changed every day for like a week straight, right?
It was absolutely.
It was tiring to keep up with.
I was just really tired of watching the past 2 opening days and watching my ace rolling in the 6th inning, and then here comes Gabe Kapler with the slow walk to the mound, and you could see Aaron Nola's head go back because that's all momentum going out the window right there. What happened both of those years?
It doesn't
especially early in the league when hitters are rusty because it's easier for pitchers to get back in the swing of things.
It doesn't just take the air out of Nola. You know what I mean? Yeah, Bryce Harper, the guy you paid so much money, who's advocating for. I'm not going to go into JT. You see Bryce Harper out in right field, he can't hear anything. He's going, why Skip taking the dude who's rolling? What's going on?
Is Aaron good?
You see JT come to the mound, take his helmet off, and roll his eyes. Right. You already know what's happening.
You see Tommy Hunter trotting in from the bullpen. You know he's going to get hurt 3 pitches later.
It's bad news, but we finally have a manager who's going to let our pitcher rock. If he might take a jog out to the mound, like, oh, Aaron, you're at 110. How you feeling? And Aaron Nola looks back and goes,
I don't think I ever can remember a Gabe Kapler like let's confide, and if the pitcher says he's good, like I'll go back to that. I literally don't remember that at all.
But if it's 5-0 in the set, and Aaron Nola's working on a 2-hit 7th inning run,
he'll never get pulled.
And
correct me if I'm wrong. You're the baseball guy here. CeCe won a Cy Young under Girardi, right?
He did not win with the Yanks. That was in.
He never won with the Yanks.
With the Brewers.
He never won with the Yanks. I remember
he probably got close.
It was with the Brewers and the.
Okay, I thought I remember him having like a 19-win season or something, like maybe the first or second year.
It was the year before he got traded from the Brewers.
Okay, I thought he had like one of those monster years on the Yankees. But regardless, CeCe was like the ace for the Joe Girardi Yankees.
Oh God, yeah.
And there's no doubt that if you look at that guy's stats as the Yankees' #1 ace. Great performances regular season and great performances in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
It helped that he always had a juiced up lineup. I mean, not juiced up like steroids, but I mean juiced up as in a potent lineup behind
one person.
A-Rod was there.
Okay,
one
right,
person was there.
So not fully unblemished, but it was more formidable than the 2018-19 Phillies. That's
yes, of course. And Joe Girardi, thank God, this man knows how to manage a bullpen.
Yeah,
I swear. I swear to God, like I have never seen a person who played Major League Baseball have less of a feel for the game that he made millions of dollars playing. Gabe Kapler was an outfielder for the Brewers and couldn't manage his way around an AAU team. Like it was absolutely disgraceful.
Baseball goes beyond the book. Sports go beyond the book. Like,
they really do. They really do. But that's it for our main event. Guys, we are going to move right into the second half, and we're back, so you get to use those boards that are in front of you right here, all
Quick
right?
halftime, 0-0 in the Union game.
That's what we're looking for, Max. Keep those Union updates coming.
I will. I'm definitely going to sneak in updates while we're doing this.
I love it. So our first offensive board. What video game rating are you giving the 3 Philly sports teams? So give me a list of them. You know what I mean?
Okay.
List
all four?
them down.
All four?
I think 3 major.
Yeah, give me all the major ones. Give me all the major ones. The more rankings, the better. You know I'm a ranking slave. That goes for fantasy baseball and everything like that.
Bad.
Okay.
I'll throw a courtesy flyers in there. You go first. 'Cause I'm doing four.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna give.
This is good.
We got to put some. Can you give us some Jeopardy music? In the back?
I wish I had that queued up. Hey, you can't expect me to have the Jeopardy queued up after 3 months. I mean, if you do, that's your problem.
Well, we expect a lot from you, man.
Hey, you know what? Set the bar high. Ooh, I can't even say it. Ooh.
Okay. Here we go.
Let's see it. Hey, JJ's got it first. Show it right here to the main cam.
To preface my ratings, I think all three, the 3 major Philadelphia sports are all within the average to above average range. I don't think any of them are elite. I don't think any of them are bad. They all are in that window of either from their floor being average to their ceiling being above average. With that being said, I have the Eagles at an 84, the Phillies at an 82, and the Sixers at an 86. I feel like those are pretty fair and moderate ratings. For the Eagles, I give the Eagles an 84 because of their draft and their offseason moves. Getting both Darius Slay and their draft picks kind of make this fluctuate a little bit, but I do think they kind of pulled themselves out of where they were with getting a little bit healthy with Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson back.
Should I have? I'm sorry, not to cut you off. Should I have been with my Eagles stuff? Or
Go, you Eagles.
Okay,
so go for it.
Okay, so I have Eagles at 85. Okay. I'm trying to cram on it through the courtesy flyers.
I like that we're close on that.
Yeah. I think it's really like. I would imagine most of the offensive line is probably highly rated, which kind of drags the offensive rating up higher than it maybe should be if you're just basing it on.
My personal rating of Wentz drags that up too.
Okay, yeah, and I think that should be higher too. I think the defense has like Slay highly rated, I'm sure. Fletcher Cox obviously highly rated.
Top heavy.
But like outside of that, there's probably no guys that have like a super high rating, which I think
Madden likes Javon Hargrave.
Do they? Oh, right. That would make sense. He was a monster last year analytically.
They also like Brandon Graham too.
They do.
Really?
They historically always like Brandon. And I know everybody else they hate.
It's a shame because special teams doesn't really mean anything in Madden. And like especially if you're not a team that's like getting punt and kick return touchdowns a lot.
Right.
Because like we're a very solid special teams team.
That is very true.
But we don't like
special teams is one.
We're not a flashy special teams.
But I mean,
I think Eagles special teams would be like 87 or 88, but that doesn't do enough to drag up your rating.
It might make them an 85.
See,
to be honest,
the team ratings differ from like Madden Ultimate Team to like play now.
Right.
I mean? So it's always.
I'm going off what you get in the game. The roster that the game gives you, not the ultimate.
The special teams did win Eagles a lot of games. I'll move on to the Phillies. I'll give the Phillies an 82. Okay. And that's one because I'm still unsure about the injuries that they accumulated last year, how they're going to come back, the Kutch injuries, the injuries to the bullpen. I wasn't really happy about the JT Realmuto situation, so I think that's going to play a little bit of a part in the Phillies season. Also, we talked about how I think Aaron Nola is going to be great, but we know that they're pitching as a whole, all the way around. The rotation isn't the greatest. You have Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, then after that, you get really, really shaky when you talk about
Spencer Howard.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to cough.
Do have Spencer Howard. But from that, just the uncertainty around the Phillies. Now, once this season starts, I expect that rating to go up. I expect me to rate the Phillies a lot higher. But I have to be honest with, I mean, we're looking at a team who finished 500 last year. Yep. So this is a very 500-like rating.
All right. Season. You're 82 right there. I'm not going to disagree with it overall. Shorten that, so rate them on a 60-game scale. After 60 games, so do that for me. Do that for me.
I actually just changed mine. So I had 83 originally.
All right, so let's take that into account. Let's do the 60 games because they're notoriously hot starters. Bryce Harper, notorious hot starter, and last year, through 60 games, they were first place in the NL East by a lot.
I wasn't even considering that. I bumped them up to 85.
They're one of the best teams in MLB.
Strictly because you want to talk about top heavy. The Phillies are such a team. Like they're such a good team. Like in terms of the names on the paper. Bryce Harper probably 99 overall in any game he plays in. Aaron Nola, even you have to imagine he's still 90 plus, right? JT, super highly rated. Didi probably still is pretty.
Didi's probably very high.
Wow, exactly. You guys would not like MLB The Show then.
They got him rated all badly.
It can't be worse than Madden, can it? But all I'm saying is the Phillies underperformed in terms of the names that they had on the roster last year. Video games don't give a damn about that. Bryce Harper's a 99. That's dragging your team overall up.
No shot. He's one of the lower diamonds.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, he's one of the lower top tier hitters.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
JT got done dirty.
So maybe it seems like they actually are grading them based on performance as opposed to name.
They do, yeah.
Which is what we're about to get into with the Sixers, big time. I'll just start because I had the Sixers at an 89 because out of their starters, all of them are super highly rated. Embiid and Simmons are flirting with 9.
6th seed in the East gets an 89?
It doesn't matter about where they are actively. We're talking about...
Come on now.
What do you mean it doesn't matter about where they are actively?
I'm talking about the
I'll be
rating
the realist here. Come on.
They're the only team that has a season to go off of. The other two teams we're going off of last season.
I'm going
off of this season.
I'm going off what my expectations are. Because I don't play 2K. I don't know. I'm saying that if you take the Sixers...
I'm saying rate the last team that you saw. The last Sixers team you saw was still this season. It's still the same Sixers team.
I'm doing these ratings as the cumulative on the individual player ratings, not how they play as a team.
But that's what that equation...
I love how you just take things and go your own way.
The parts were greater than the sum of the... No, am I wrong in saying the parts were greater than the sum of the Sixers? The Sixers...
No, you're wrong. What do you mean exactly wrong? The parts of the Sixers...
I'm sorry, I had that backward. The parts are absolutely greater than the sum. Going into the season, the Sixers were so hyped. They were so hyped.
Right, you're right, Max. You're exactly right.
That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Into this, we're not going into the season anymore. We're 60 games into the season.
Okay, well...
We are continuing to... If you use that logic for the Phillies and the Eagles, you'd have been exactly correct. Because we're going into the season. The Sixers have a season. The team has not changed. We have the same exact team. And that same exact team sits 6 spots in the Eastern Conference where they should not be 6th in. For that, they get an 86.
I think 86 for you is generous.
And after all this, after you making me mad, this 86 is way too generous.
Way too generous. What's that mean? You're making Embiid and Simmons individual ratings of what, 82 or 83?
No, they probably get 90s. But who the hell gets a 90 after that? Josh Richardson or Tobias are the next best grades. What do you give Tobias?
85.
Yeah. Generous. What do you give Josh Richardson?
This isn't a matter of us.
I'll switch that. Harris go 83, Richardson 85.
That's probably
no way Richardson would ever be rated higher.
Probably.
Wait, what team did you watch?
Yeah, I'm saying just in general, like.
But you got it. But the rating is
I literally just approached this differently because I did all of these as rating the team as the sum of the individuals that make it up.
Which is pretty much what the rating is.
Yeah. But I didn't do that for the Sixers because the Sixers, based on how they were playing in the season that we saw, are nowhere near an 89. But I'm saying going into the season with the players, just the names of the players they have on the roster and how I think they were rated. I think that their team rating was significantly higher than it should be. I'm not saying it should be an 89. I'm saying that Embiid and Simmons are highly rated and probably properly highly rated.
Well, the question wasn't in a perfect utopian world, what would their rating be? The question was, what do you give the rating? Right. So based on what you saw, what the rating you give the Sixers? Mend it now. Now that you know the right rules,
I'll mend it down to 86.
All right, fine. I can live with
that. Because I'm ending mine.
The overall ratings of the individuals still drag that rating up higher than any bad team performance.
They get an 83. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You did that out of spite.
Not out of spite, out of a second thought. Because you're right. Let me go over Max's logic. You have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, who at the beginning of the season you probably give both of them 94 and above ratings. At least 93 and above ratings, correct?
And I'd say Embiid probably like 94, Simmons maybe like 91.
There you go. And then based off of those ratings, you coming in after 60 games, those two people have this Sixers team in a 6th seed. So based off of that, your team rating goes down. That you are underperforming based on what you should be. So your rating gets dragged down because of that.
83 was where I thought you were going to
83 is where I'm landing on. Right. I needed Max to piss me off to get to this landing.
Yeah, you petty.
That's what I needed.
All right.
Wait, real quick exercise. Rank the Flyers for me. Rate the Flyers.
I already have them. They're at 84 because they have no...
You are a liar.
Dude. When I say that, I'm saying that the teams are being rated on their individuals. The Flyers are not a team of flashy names. Just because we know and appreciate them and how good they are.
You're rating them all wrong. You're not just rating on performance too. Right. The last Flyers team that you saw.
Give me your in your heart. What do you think
the Flyers are? Probably like compared to the rest of the league, they're probably a top 5 team. So they're probably like an 88.
Bro, I'm going 92. Deepest team in the league.
I'm not disagreeing with that. They probably
are. Sean Couturier making the top 3 for the Selke, Alain Vignon getting the top 3 for the Jack Adams.
I just know that games are jaded to be sellers, and the Flyers are not like a flashy, sexy team outside of Philadelphia.
Can you imagine how many copies they would NHL would sell if they ranked the Flyers 92?
Probably a lot.
Probably a lot more in Philly.
They'll be a war zone with all the Walmart and Target lootings going on.
A lot more in Philly. You know what, guys? We need to give the Flyers a little bit more love. We really do. But they're coming back. Max, I think it's in, 2 weeks?
A couple of, I don't know if the Flyers, I know the NHL as a whole starts a couple days after the NBA.
Yeah.
The earliest date that I know the Flyers play is like August 8th or something.
Oh, you can bet I'll be watching that.
1-1 Union, by the way. So somehow
1-1 Union.
Somehow both teams have scored in the 10 minutes since
That's the kind of soccer we like here. That's the one we can bet on.
really could use a Union winner here. That'd be a great night for me.
So our second one, guys, offensive boards.
Oh,
Who is the most important Philly athlete going into the return of sports? Most important Philly athlete going into the return of sports.
You go ahead if you can't tell them.
This is our Philly phenom. One player, any team. I want to see who this is.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure. Making sure this isn't restricted to.
No.
I don't know if you can tell what this looks like. This is a wagon for my artistically challenged friends. This is what a beautiful wagon looks like drawn.
Wow.
No, that's a good one. I'm seeing it
that's
now.
actually
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
good.
I'm seeing
You seeing it?
I see it.
You see it?
Yeah.
The Wentz wagon. Carson Wentz.
Wow.
Plain and simple. That's the most important Philly. Who's got the most on their shoulders going in the restart? Carson Wentz.
Wow.
Who's got to perform the best for their team to do the best? Carson Wentz. Who's got the most disrespect out of the league going into the return of their season? Carson Wentz. That's the most important Philadelphia athlete right now. If the Eagles are going to escape mediocrity, if the Eagles are going to win the NFC East and really take it over from the Cowboys right now, it's going to be Carson Wentz. The Eagles go as Carson Wentz goes. All the other teams, I'm focusing on the three major right now. The Phillies and the Sixers can both afford for their quote-unquote best player to underperform and then still go places. The Phillies can kind of afford almost for Bryce Harper to underperform a little bit and still get to somewhere decent. The Sixers can have Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons underperform a little bit and still get to somewhere. If Carson Wentz underperforms, can you imagine if he underperformed last year? Could you imagine if he wasn't a stellar quarterback to end the season last year? The Eagles are looking at a top 10 pick on the draft. So I think it's up to Carson Wentz. He's got a whole lot of new pieces in his offense, a whole lot of new pieces on his team that he's going to have to help mold. So it's on him. I think he's the most important Philly athlete.
I agree with a lot of what you said there, except for the fact that you said that the Sixers' best player can underperform and they can still go places. Because as they've shown, when Embiid does underperform in the playoffs, they absolutely have gotten nothing done.
Well, that's because when Embiid underperforms, Ben Simmons joins him and then Tobias Harris jumps on the wagon.
Look, that is a whole other conversation. All I'm saying is that in playoff basketball, it comes down to your best player being able to get it done in the crunch. And that's Embiid. That's the guy who it's going to be for the Sixers. If you're going to win games when you're experimenting with a brand new roster and new tactics and new plays and new nuances of your offense, eventually you're going to have to fall back on the old faithful. My best guy is going to go get me a bucket somehow. And if Embiid can't do that, they might not be able to afford those games where he goes 5 of 13 and only finishes with 11 points. And you know what I mean? And he's 1 of 7 from 3. Those games can't happen because he's the guy that's still going to be the rock and the pillar. He's the guy whose game is probably going to change overall the least. He's still going to be getting the ball and still trying to work down low a lot. He's still going to take a lot of threes because that's the way the game works. He's not the guy who's going to be working with Ben Simmons a ton in pick and roll probably compared to other members of the starting lineup. Like he's more likely to run pick and rolls with like Harris or Richardson than he is with Simmons. And I think likewise Simmons is more likely to do the same in terms of guys that he'll run the pick and roll with. So I think eventually in the fourth quarter, you're going to need Embiid to get you buckets one-on-one, on the block, starting maybe even as far out as 20 feet. I think that, we talk about the time off and how it can help and how it can hurt guys. There's no debating that Embiid has been gassed by the time he's reached the playoffs. Even last year when he said his goal was to be healthy in the playoffs, he did get hurt at the end, and it's kind of hard to do that recovery process as the playoffs are going on. He doesn't have any of that this year. I need him. This isn't a matter of me wanting to see or when everything goes bad with the Sixers' new offense that he can step in. He's going to have to do that because there are times where it's just not going to work. They're not going to have things figured out against certain looks, and he's going to need to step up and take control.
Embiid is a close second to Carson Wentz's one, but I guess I simplify this and then I ask myself, if you take Carson Wentz off the Eagles, you take Joel Embiid off the Sixers, which team is in bigger peril? And there's no question that the Eagles are in bigger peril.
That's fair.
That's fair. So I'm going to make Ben Simmons the best player on the Sixers, or I'm going to make Jalen Hurts the starter for the Eagles. Which team am I banking on to have a little bit more success?
That's true, but quarterback's the most important position in sports. That's why I did.
So what would your guys' reaction be if I was to tell you that my most important Philly player would be Sean Couturier? Because realistically looking at it, if I'm looking at it, the Flyers are the only team that I can look at right now and say they can go win it all. They can go win it all, and we might not be able to have a parade, but I know some of these Philly people are going to be out there on Broad Street anyway. If Sean Couturier is not there, the Flyers lose in round 1. To me.
That's totally true. I will give you a different answer for the Flyers.
Carter Hart.
I'm going to say it's one of the X Factor guys. I think if you can see either JVR or Voracek just be the guy that can be the forward that's banging in goals down low, you have to get dirty goals.
It's got to be JVR.
It's more than likely going to be JVR. I think JVR is more the guy that can pop, but Voracek is more of the X Factor. Like if Voracek just is like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna throw it back to 2015 for this next month.
Be great?
That you know what I mean? That is the difference. You know what I mean? If all the other guys come up and go to work like it was game 41 against Calgary or whatever.
Right.
If Voracek shows up and he plays out of his mind, that makes more of a difference for the Flyers' overall success than Couturier or G or Hart because all of them are already playing as close to their highest level as they can be.
See, to me, it's just like if Couturier is not on the ice, the other guy, the other team's number 1 doesn't have a problem. There's no other stopper. So Couturier's his defensive phase of the game is so important to who he is as a player. Like he shuts down. How many times have we seen him shut down Evgeny Malkin?
Yeah,
like absolutely shut down. That's just too.
I just think is that you know what you're gonna get with Hart and with G and with Couturier just as the 3 names for the Flyers.
I'm looking at it. It doesn't say X Factor. It says most important right here.
Okay, that's fair.
Right here. Yeah, that's what I'm going on. Guys, this last offensive board is going to be in 2, and I'm going to make this 3 parts. We're going to go a little bit round by round here. We're going to have a winner. So this one is a little bit tough, and I don't want to.
So I should make a bracket?
Yeah, we're making a bracket here. I have it in my head. We got to play doom and gloom just a little bit just because of how the world is shaping up.
Doom and gloom.
So, first round. Which is more likely to shut down, the NFL or the MLB? NFL or MLB? You guys both have extenuating circumstances in your head that I won't use them all. NFL or MLB, go for it.
I'm going to go MLB is more likely to shut down from only the standpoint of NFL has a little bit more time on its side. They haven't been using it very efficiently. It took till today and a lot of pressure being put on the players, or a lot of pressure from the players being put on the NFL for them to even sit down and even start to put down a plan for how they're going to attack this whole coronavirus situation and traveling. But from the standpoint of the MLB, is going to be the biggest league that's going to travel first, that's going to take their players and go to different cities. They also have a team whose entire country isn't allowing them to play inside their country, which means they're playing all away games. All the Toronto Blue Jays are doing is traveling. From that standpoint, I think the MLB is a little bit more susceptible to get shut down because the NFL has the ability to watch what the MLB is doing and read and react. Yeah, read and react based on what they're doing. Now, is the NFL, smart enough to do that? That's yet to be seen. We know how the NFL can botch these kind of things. But they have the ability to kind of assess the situation, look at what the blueprint of what the MLB is laying out, and kind of react based on that, and hopefully clear up any things that the MLB wasn't able to. So who's more susceptible to getting shut down? I'm going to say the MLB.
Right. Okay. I will go with the NFL, actually, and I think that the travel thing for the MLB is definitely the biggest red flag for them, right? Mm-hmm. But I think what will trump that, and I think, honestly, if you asked me today before I read these bubble reports about the NBA and NHL, I probably still would have answered MLB. But I think that obviously those two leagues aren't traveling; they're in a bubble. But they're at least showing that if you're strict with the quarantine and the group of people that are involved with it, you can start to kind of bloom those numbers, and you know that it's controlled. The issues with the NFL is that the NFL is still, as of this very moment, aiming and hoping to have fans in the stadium to some capacity in every stadium.
In some states.
In the states that will vehemently disallow it.
Pennsylvania is not one of those states.
Exactly. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be the league or the personnel that has an issue, but when you start bringing in the fans that don't have the same resources that all these leagues do, eventually it's more likely to have something slips through the cracks on a fan perspective than it is one of these players or personnel
guys. Dude, going off
that,
at last check, Florida has not reversed its policy on letting fans into the stadium. I think it was at like 45% capacity. Mm-hmm. For Jacksonville, Miami Dolphins,
and you look at
and Tampa
an
Bay
easy
Bucks.
layup. That's more fans than the Jaguars can get anyway.
Exactly, and maybe even the Dolphins.
And hey, like if you look at the reports that just came out today, even a couple hours ago, the Raiders owner Mark Davis, they had a whole league vote, and he was the only owner to vote against not having fans in. So he was the only owner that wanted to vote to keep fans in when all other franchises were cool with not letting fans in because he's quote unquote already sold out every game for the Las Vegas.
Well, I mean, look at that
Stadium.
haircut. That dude doesn't make good decisions anyway.
That's
you know what I mean?
Look who his dad is. You know, win, baby, win.
Right. I think if you just don't compare him to Al. Don't do that.
Yeah, I think he just asked us blindly which NFL owner voted to keep fans in the stadium. I think Mark Davis is definitely the most obvious.
I definitely would not have voted. Of all the NFL owners, I would not have.
Mark Davis would have been in the top 5.
He would have been the top. He would have been
He's on the short. He's on the short.
He's on the short list.
Yeah,
but we all know who my first guess. We all know who my first guess.
We all know who all are.
To put people in danger, Dan Snyder is my first guess.
Easy.
No question about it.
To endanger
and
the
then
public,
afterwards
Daniel
is Jerry Jones.
Snyder.
And then afterwards is Jerry Jones.
Yeah, actually, Jerry Jones would definitely be my default first because Texas. I mean, I'll say it like this:
they are planning. I think it's 20,000 max or something like that.
Dude, there was reports a couple weeks ago that
that's like 20% capacity
before Texas got reflushed down the toilet, he wanted to pack the stadium. Like during this, he came out and said that.
I'm sure
actually,
he did. I'll say this:
on his mega yacht.
My argument is made in one simple sentence. Do you really think the NFL is going to say no to having fans in the stadium wherever they're allowed when schools are trying to be reopened in 2 months?
Oh God, we're not even going to jump down that rabbit hole, guys. Round 2. This one could be a little bit tough because they're the ones that are in the bubbles.
Okay.
NHL or NBA? Who's the first one to shut down? And the winner of this round is going to go up against. Wow, you guys didn't pick the same one, so I'll choose who they're going to go up against in the finals.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how this is going to go. Who's got it first?
I'll go first again.
All right, go for it.
I'm going to NBA.
NBA, interesting.
Very simple. They're in the epicenter of the world of coronavirus right now. They're in the place in the entire planet that has the most COVID cases, and it is going up overnight. Not with the NBA players, but, I mean, look, do we think that the entire NBA, the whole Players Association as a whole, do you think they're a very disciplined group? Do they follow?
There's already been a couple young ladies
People are already getting snitched on. People have already left the bubble to get food, and they've only been there for a week. Some of these teams are going to be there for 3 months, and month 1 and month 2 and month 3 hit, and some people get antsy and want to get out and start. All it takes is for 3 or 4 people, to go and get it, bring it back and spread it to a bunch of people for this whole thing to get shut down. And when you're in the epicenter of the world for coronavirus, you don't got to turn too many corners before you probably, get in contact with someone who has it and can give it to you. So I think the NBA is much more susceptible. And from the standpoint of, we know where the NBA is. Like the modern sport, the mainstream sports media literally has pinpointed the NBA. Everyone in the country knows not only what city, exactly what resorts, hotel, damn near what room number these players are staying in. You may not be able to get into the bubble, but you have access to it. You know where it is.
You can go outside and take pictures of it.
I have no clue where the NHL is. I literally couldn't tell you.
They went dark.
I couldn't.
Yeah, they still haven't.
I couldn't give you a guess to where the NHL is.
They went dark.
And that just means they're much more under wraps with it. 800 something tests and only 2 positive. That's something crazy. At the NBA, as much as I hate to say it, I think it's much more susceptible to getting shut down.
I really wanted to say the NHL here just so we could have a good free-spirited debate. But I literally erased it because I can't sit here and try to make the points.
Yeah.
I'll say this: the main reason, you hit it on the head. It's the players.
It really
is the
man.
players, right?
We've already seen evidence of it.
You were nice enough to not air this person out. Dwight Howard, you're a moron, brother.
Come on, man.
You're a moron, brother. You're a moron. You're in a state with 15,000 new cases reported yesterday, and you're being the anti-truther and saying, I don't think masks are too important. I'm Dwight Howard. I'm notably the smartest guy in the room who left high school to go to the NBA. Look, I don't want to shit on the guy for his career choice and how he got there, but I think it's pretty obvious that he never took, a step inside of a college campus with that statement, right? I'm going to say this: I hate to be the hockey guy, right? But being as objective as I can be, hockey players are used to this because a lot of hockey guys get their starts in juniors when they're 13, 14, 15. They're used to going places that aren't their house with their parents and sleeping there for however long they need to for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks for a junior Olympics or a tournament or whatever.
That's a good point.
The NBA, I mean, there's no secret. The NBA is the most coddled league in the world. Guys are pros are 18, 19. They're, the NBA is.
Half the league didn't even want to go to the bubble until they found out that you can fish and play ping pong and go bowling and have music nights and get
we got a lounge
and get hair.
You can hang out at the NBA 2K barbershop.
And NBA players were complaining about not being able to get haircuts, so the NBA built them a barbershop. In the middle of the bubble, y'all want it. So from that standpoint, the NBA players needed all of this stuff, all this entertainment and distraction to be able to go play their sports. NHL players were like, y'all want us to stay in a bubble so we can play the sport we love? Cool. Tell us when and where, and we're there.
Exactly.
And
I literally think it's that simple. I don't want to be that guy who's Ron calling in from West Philly into WIP and complaining about the NBA players. I don't want to be that guy. But I think there's no realistic way you can look at the NBA and not say that league is considerably more pampered in terms of how the league treats them, how that the players even make it to the league. Like we all know, we've all heard about the AAU stories and how everyone's all buddy now and that kind of thing. That's just not the case in other sports. And honestly, in times like this where you need to be, your professionalism is more called into question than it normally would be. I think the NBA is more susceptible to a lapse in that than the NHL is.
Me too. Yeah. I agree.
And honestly, let's really think about it. The NHL, they're in 2 hub cities in Canada. So for a lot of those guys, they got the phone call. Oh, cool! Like I can drive to the bubble. I'm good. I'm home. Yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And look, and I don't want to. A lot of this, especially from my side, is coming out of evidence that I've seen. Now, if I would have heard of 3 or 4 or 5 examples of NHL players either leaving their bubble or getting extra quarantine time or posting videos about them not wearing a mask and all that stuff, I'd be more likely to say the NHL. But the NBA is literally giving me video proof evidence that they can't follow directions. Someone left the bubble 3 nights after they got there. He ordered food, you know what I mean? Or Rashawn Holmes ordered food like inside of a week and left the bubble. Like couldn't stay there for a week. Couldn't be that disciplined.
Offering to fly a couple young ladies down already.
Like we already see it. And then one of the most notable players on the most notable team in the league posted something on Instagram Live saying I think it's stupid we got to wear a mask, man. We're only in the heart of the coronavirus for the world.
I don't believe in that.
And I don't believe in it.
Have you guys ever heard of this website called 4chan?
It's not.
Oh, God.
It's not you're gonna make me go down a whole different rabbit hole. Like
don't do it.
It's not a belief. Like this isn't religion. Like it's not something you believe in or have to worship a god in order to accept. Like this is a pandemic out that is still going on, and sadly we're the only country that's still really dealing with this. And it's stuff like that where I look at the NBA and I'm like, if I have to choose a league to get shut down first.
That's y'all.
Are we unanimous in crowning the NBA most likely to F this all up and ruin their season?
From the players' stand side, yes.
And which is crazy because I'm voting against two leagues that are traveling.
Yeah.
How? This is not an indictment on the league overall. This is not an indictment on the league overall.
For the one time, this is an indictment on the league or on the players over the league. I think the league did literally everything possible.
The best job they could
to play. Literally, they test. When you get there, you have to pass 7 straight tests before you can leave your room. Rachel Nichols was on the jump today, and she's been there for a week, and today was the first time she could literally leave her room because she got 7 negative tests back in a row. That's what you have to do to leave. If you get 1 positive test in 7 days, you're in there for 10 days, then you get another test.
You guys were able to bring your PlayStations. You guys are able to go fish. You have a whole players' lounge.
And you still find a way to evade these rules. And Dwight Howard, I'm really pissed off about because you decided to join late. Like you had all this, I'm not going to play. If you're going to come and just break the rules, dog, you already said you weren't going to play, so just don't play.
Yeah, right.
Like you already said you weren't coming, so why come just to break the rules?
And if you do,
Dwight
shut
Howard
up about
woke up
it.
in the middle of the night to 2 guys with Lakers masks over their face. One of them had a unibrow, and the other one had a beard coming out the bottom. 2 silence pistols saying, "You're coming down to Florida." That's why he's there.
That was that video where Anthony Davis and LeBron were on the bike in LA. They were biking to Dwight's house.
Yeah, man.
Oh, my goodness. So I decided against it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the last round for next week because it involves the MLS. But that's going to wrap up our offensive boards. God, I love that. Guys, we're going to move into tap-outs. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Recently, the basketball nets in my neighborhood have been put back up.
Hey, now.
So I made the mistake of going out and trying to get some exercise today. So obviously, it was disgustingly hot out. I'm here to admit how embarrassed I am about how stiff and I don't want to say sore, but I literally felt like I was like a brand new action figure that you took out of the box, and like the first time you move its joints, it's like, and then gradually it starts to work. But like, I felt awkward. I felt there was nobody there. There were 2 guys sitting on a bench, a solid 40 feet from me. And just with every shot that I missed, I just felt like everybody could see me.
More judging.
It literally felt like I was learning how to like play basketball for the first time. So I'll say this: if you're like me and you really haven't been doing too much, you've really been enjoying the sitting on your house or sitting around your house. Do yourself the favor and break that fourth wall now, because the next time you go to do physical activity, it's going to suck. Right. I didn't think it was going to suck that bad. I literally had no enjoyment today shooting a basketball for 20 minutes for the first time in 4 months.
I played 7 innings of baseball yesterday. My back. Oh my God, my back has not been. I woke up.
How you did that.
My back
it was disgusting out
yesterday.
It was disgusting out yesterday too. Yeah.
So you're saying hitting the court and doing things you haven't done for months on end was pretty hard.
Right? It was embarrassing. I literally felt. I felt like demeaned as a person, even though no one was watching and judging me. Internally, I felt demeaned as a person.
And if people were there watching and judging you, would that make you want to go back to the court and do it again? Oh no! No!
Wow. I'm done. Goodbye. Good show. Tap out.
This is the guy who thinks Ben Simmons is all of a sudden going to shoot threes. People,
no,
he just admitted that he won't go do it, and nobody was there, and no one was there.
God,
but he wants Ben Simmons to now go shoot threes
hilarious.
in the most pivotal time of an NBA season. Good tap out, Max. My tap out is going to be the same vein of the NBA. I saw Tobias Harris in his first media availability.
Yes.
Only answer one question. His media time lasted 39 seconds. He answered one question, and it wasn't even about the question. He directed his answer to the mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and demanded that the 3 cops who killed Breonna Taylor be taken into custody, arrested, and convicted of their actions. And I have a podcast, Straight Facts Podcast, where I posed this exact situation where I said, what if every NBA player used their available media time, at least their first couple of media times, to only talk about the social injustice matter that's going on and further the conversation? And Tobias Harris literally illustrated and painted the exact picture that I was thinking of in my mind. So big shout out to Tobias Harris, and I think it further proves that basketball doesn't have to be a distraction right now. It can be something to further the conversation and help this cause, and Tobias did that. So thank you, Tobias Harris. I think that was awesome. I hope more players follow his lead, because that was a real trend-setting move that he did. I also just owned Max in his tap out.
Yes,
so.
He did. You can't even see him anymore.
Yes,
you
sir.
can't see me either, so I will hold my tap out for next week, because it's a good one, gentlemen. But that is going to wrap up our first live episode in 3 months. It felt great to be back. 4 months. It felt great to be back. You can catch us next week at the same time, 8:30, only on My New Philly, where something is always new and everything is always Philly.
And the Union ended up drawing 1-1, so they finished second in their group. All they needed to do was win.
Literally drawing.